If you're looking for a gift to buy an urban sketcher in your life, maybe that's yourself, I've got some great ideas here, whether it's for a beginner or a more experienced artist, and prices ranging from stocking filler, Secret Santa level, right up to more elaborate items. Anyway, let's dive right in with gifts up to £10. First of all, a fountain pen that at £6 won't break the bank. It's a platinum Preppy and it takes cartridges, so you don't even have to add on the expense of a converter or a bottle of ink. The cartridges cost £4 for a box of 4, or less than £10 for 4 boxes of 4. Next we have this pencil case at £6. You can fit quite a few pens in the main section, and then it has an extra pocket on the side, and it has an elastic strap, so when you want to take it with you, you can just strap it around your sketchbook. Another pencil case is this Derwent one, which is really handy because you get a clear plastic area here and then a mesh area here, so you just really easily see what's in here. I've used this one quite a lot, as you can see by the state of it now. And these are about £10. Next we have these collapsible camping cups that are really handy for storing your water in when you're doing watercolour. I've got two different types here. And they just fold up really neatly. These vary in price from about £6 for a pack of 2, and I've seen some for about £9 for a pack of 4. Some of them don't get great reviews, but it's because they're being reviewed as camping cups. People say that they're a bit smaller than expected, but that's probably no bad thing when we're using them for watercolour and not for drinking out of. If the person you're buying for likes sketching in a cafe perhaps, or if they're sketching on plein air and it starts raining and they have to carry on in a dark corner indoors, then a little rechargeable clip-on light can be really useful. Mine has 3 light modes, and I've used it at a sketching group where we sometimes meet in cafes and coffee shops, and also when I'm just sitting doodling when I'm all cosy on the sofa with my other half and I don't want the big light on. This one is similar to the ones I've got. I actually bought 2 because they're so useful. This one's priced at about £7 on a Black Friday event. They're usually about £9, but shop around. There are lots about at all different prices. Just make sure it's rechargeable so you don't have to worry about replacing batteries. These water brushes are really handy. You store the water actually in here, so you don't need to take separate water with you. You can get these at all price points. I'd avoid the really cheap ones. This one's made by Pentel, and they're about £5 or £6 each, and about £13 or £14 for a pack of 3 in different sizes. Next in the under £10 price bracket is this lovely credit card sized watercolour palette. I ordered it on Etsy, and it's actually made and sold by another YouTuber, Woodward's Watercolours. It came from Ireland really quickly and even had a thank you card in the envelope, which I thought was a really nice touch. I bought it when I read someone's comment that they use it in a Filofax sketchbook. I haven't managed to track one of those down, but I did go back to the 1990s and found 3 of my old Filofaxes, and I'm planning to cut some watercolour paper to size, hole punch it, and use this with it. I just love small, compact setup ideas like that. This probably isn't something I'd buy for a complete beginner though. Being empty, you have to choose your own watercolours to fill it with, and I know that when I was a beginner I wouldn't have had a clue what to fill it with. I have another empty palette that I bought here, kind of a novelty. This does have lots of fun areas, but it is quite fiddly. I'm not absolutely sure I'll actually use it. I don't know where things go. There's another mixing area here, water cup. Oh, I guess that goes on there, like, no, it doesn't. Oh, it goes there. Oh, I don't know where that goes. There, okay, quite fiddly. Not sure how practical it is, but for £8 it might be a fun stocking filler for someone. Last but not least is this folding ruler. When I showed a video the other day and was talking about perspective, someone mentioned in the comments that they use a folding ruler to hold up against the angles and then bring it down to their sketchbook page to get the angle right. And I thought, what an absolutely brilliant idea. And these are about £3. And at £3, these would be great for a Secret Santa gift perhaps. Now we move up to the £10 to £20 price bracket. And a good option here is a set of fine liners. Unipin, Micron. They're all about £10 or £11 for a set of 6. There are other makes available, but just do make sure you get water resistant ones. Next in this price bracket, you could go for a paint palette. This one, for example, is Winsor & Newton Cotman range, which is a student range. This is the Sketchers box. It's got 12 half pans, 3 mixing areas, which you can see I've cleaned really nicely for this video. Nice and compact, and they're around £12 or £13. Still in the £10 to £20 price bracket, we can move on to sketchbooks. For example, this Sea White watercolour travel journal, which is A5 landscape and 200 GSM, 60 pages, cold pressed. At the moment, these are on a Black Friday deal for just over £12. I've paid as little as £11 for them, although they're usually around £15 these days. I'm on about the 5th one of these now. They're my everyday go-to sketchbooks. Another option would be this Paul Rubens watercolour journal, also A5, but this one's 100% cotton. It's hot pressed, which means it's smoother, and you only get 20 sheets because it is better quality paper, and it's 300 GSM, so that bit thicker. On Black Friday, it's about £13.50, usually £16. These Famui travel brushes come in at about £19. You get 3 different sizes, and what I really like about them is the handles screw on. It just makes them much nicer to use than if the handle's rattling about. For about £15 you can get a little 3-legged stool, or this one here that's a little bit more comfortable. Now we move on to the £20 to £30 bracket, and another pen that I'd recommend is the Lamy Safari. These are around £20. They vary in price, and you get different sized nibs and lots of different colours, but do bear in mind that they will come with cartridges that will not be water resistant. So if the person you're buying it for is going to use it with watercolour, you will have to factor in the extra cost of a converter and a bottle of ink. Well, you might not have to factor that in, but somebody's got to buy a converter and a bottle of ink on top of the price of the pen. The ink I use is platinum carbon ink, which is usually around £20 a bottle. And that bottle will last a very long time, but it is obviously extra outlay. And the converter that you put the ink in instead of a cartridge is again around £6 or £7. So you've just got to bear that in mind if you do get one of these pens. Another idea is one of these Derwent carry-all bags at about £20. To be honest, the only reason I haven't got one is because usually when I'm out sketching, I'm also filming, so I have to factor in space for cameras and tripods and whatnot. Otherwise, I'd definitely be using one of these. Another set of paints that I'd recommend are these Van Goghs. These are student range, but the pigmentation in them is really good. I really like them, and for a student brand, I think they're really good. And they retail at about £20. If the person that you're buying for would like to just use one good quality brush, I can strongly recommend these Escodas. Mine's a size 12 because it's nice and thick for big washes, but also comes to a lovely point for finer details. No, they don't screw in, but they do have a nice firm fit. So this is probably the only brush I take with me most of the time these days. And for the synthetic version, which that one is, they're about £21, more expensive if you go for the real sable ones. Going back to the Famui brand, these ones are great. They're £22 and they're double-ended, so you're actually getting 6 brush sizes there. Another paint palette suggestion would be the Winsor & Newton Pocket Field Box. It's all in one unit, so you have a flask to put your water in, comes with a tiny brush, too small for me, and that fits on there like that. I use this all the time, as you can see. This is the professional grade paints, but the Cotman version comes in at about £25, and of course these are all removable, so you could keep the same box and replace them with professional paints at a later date. The one that comes with the professional paints is about £54, I think. And finally in this bracket are these koi paints. These are nice and bright, great fun, a little bit bigger, so not so compact for going out urban sketching, but you could also use these at home quite easily. You've got a nice range of colours there. So these come in a box of 24 colours for about £25. And now we move to the £30 and above bracket. Obviously I've already mentioned the Winsor & Newton Pocket Field Box at £55, but you could also go for a Daniel Smith professional watercolour set for about £43, or a Schminke Horodam set. Horodam are the professional range, and they're quite expensive though, they are about £72. A good option for a pen in this bracket would be the TWSBI Eco. These are around £40, slightly above £40, but you don't have to buy anything else. You don't have to buy a converter. Well, you do have to buy ink obviously, but you fill up the pen itself, so the ink goes straight into the pen. Another good option is a book. There are lots of great books on urban sketching. These ones are from the Urban Sketching Handbook series. Some of them, they're just great to browse through to give you inspiration, and they range from about £10 up to about £20. And finally, a couple of choices of sketchbooks. One thing I will say about sketchbooks is it's a very personal thing. Some people like hot pressed, smooth paper, and others, like me, prefer cold pressed. So, you know, there's a bit of a tooth, a bit of texture to the paper. So if you are spending a bit more money on something higher priced, it might be worth subtly trying to find out what the person using it prefers. If you're buying it for a beginner, don't buy something really cheap and horrid, because rubbish paper might put them off for good. So this Hahnemuhle 100% cotton sketchbook is £30, 250 GSM with 60 sheets. And this Etcher one is A5, 230 GSM. Well, I hope that's been useful and given you some ideas. Thanks for watching and happy sketching.